All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in once again to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV, More Than Meets the Third Eye. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your spiritual vitamin. So let's get ready to get into it. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Okay, so with that all being said, we have another live coming up right after this. Now, the live coming up at 1:45 is going to be for members only. Okay, I already sent you all the links in your emails. If you did not receive it, moderators, please drop the links for the members, okay? So they can get the next live. Starts at 1:45, so let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so Mr. Hotel says, shout out to our esoteric philosopher, okay? So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Now, we're going to be talking about some of the behaviors that people with low self-esteem often exhibit without them even realizing it. You know, people with low self-esteem don't give themselves credit for most things, and if they do, they sort of give themselves like backhanded compliments, okay? And they're constantly critical of themselves and they blame themselves for most things, so what have you. Even when someone does give them a compliment, they don't take it to heart. Sometimes they feel like the person's just being nice or trying to patronize them. Okay, so let's talk about it. I'm going to give you 10 of the things that they exhibit, 10 of the behaviors. Now, there are, of course, more, but these are 10 of the main ones. And the first one is apologizing excessively. Okay, sometimes these people will apologize for things when they haven't even done anything, when they're not the one even at fault. This is because of low self-esteem. Now, this could be a sign of low self-esteem. People who continually apologize often, and they do not feel, or they do so because they do not feel, that it was someone to blame other than themselves, or they feel like they're a burden and that they're constantly doing something wrong. Okay, that's exactly how some people are, and they don't even realize it, like I said, when they're doing these things. Now, at the end of the day, this is why you should be mindful. You should be doing your positive self-talk, doing your positive affirmations daily. Because if you are someone who suffers from low self-esteem, well, you just don't give yourself credit when you should, and you often criticize yourself when in fact there's no need to. Everyone makes mistakes. No one's perfect. We're all a work in progress. So you shouldn't be too harsh on yourself. The second thing they do is constant self-criticism, okay? Like I just said. Now, remember how often, you may do something and you feel like it's partially your fault, or someone tells you something that you made a mistake in or something you did wrong, and you just get so upset. Have you ever felt that way, that you get so upset and you just feel like you're stupid? I don't know anything. Believe it or not, there are people who tell themselves these things. They're always feeling bad about themselves, okay? And they also take to heart all of the negative criticisms that they get from other people. They tend to worry so much about what other people say. And one of the things that we have to be careful of is that when you're talking to children, specifically young children, they're very impressionable. And so when you're saying things to them, you can actually instill low self-esteem in them if you're always criticizing them. Oh, you made bad grades. Why are you so stupid? You're just like your father, or you're just like your mother. Saying these things causes children to be shy. Okay, and when people are shy, it's because they're unsure of themselves. It's because they have some type of complex about themselves, and also due to criticism, specifically from parents. Okay, if parents are tearing their children down, then what do you think the child is going to listen to? When other people come and give them positive reinforcement, that's not really going to have an impact on them, because most children listen more so to what their parents say, okay, when it comes to being critical of themselves. Buckhorse DC said, I can hear. Okay, yes, the babies and little ones, says Mr. Hotel. Exactly. Now, it's something that we all have. We have a voice inside of our head that sometimes narrates our own lives. But this voice can be encouraging and supportive and help us to push toward and strive toward our goals. But in some of our heads, this voice is critical and always, telling us the things that we're doing wrong or the things that we're not good at. Now, research in psychology suggests that those with low self-esteem often have a harsh and relentless internal critic. They may be constantly berating themselves for perceived failures or shortcomings, overlooking their achievements or their positive attributes. And also not feeling and realizing that everybody has something that they could work on. Everybody has flaws. Now, to find your inner voice is more often, if you find your inner voice is more often than not filled with negative self-talk, well, it might be time to address the root cause of this critical perspective. Like, how did you become this way? Is it something that happened to you in childhood where you constantly criticized and critiqued by your parents? Did you have feelings of low self-esteem, low self-worthiness? Do you not like the way you look? Do you not think that you're worthy? These are the things you should ask yourself. Now, it might help to remember that everyone makes mistakes and has shortcomings. It's part of being human. Cultivating a kinder, more forgiving internal dialogue can significantly improve your self-esteem and overall mental well-being, because this is all about our mental health. That's why it's important to talk about these things. Some people, specifically Black people, don't tend to talk about mental health issues. And they also, a lot of us tend to keep things bottled up inside and just deal with it ourselves without sitting down and talking to someone. Now, the third thing they do is seeking validation from others. This is a sign of low self-esteem. When you're constantly worried about what other people think of you, how other people view you, what they say about you, that's a sign of low self-esteem. And I've told you numerous of times that the last thing you need to be worried about is what other people think. It's what you think of yourself, okay? And so because the inner critic in people with low self-esteem is so hard to please, where do they tend to get approval? Well, of course, from other people. That's pretty understandable, you see, because we all like to feel accepted and valued, and there's nothing wrong with appreciating the approval of others. There's nothing wrong with wanting and accepting compliments, but don't stake everything in you on that. If someone doesn't like something you've done or something you said or the way you dress or the way you look, well, don't let that be the end all be all and have you feeling bad about yourself, because sometimes people are just haters and sometimes people just say things to, in fact, make other people feel down. Okay? So, however, when we start seeking validation externally rather than from within, it can become problematic. And I've told you before that it's called self-esteem for a reason, because it's about how you feel about yourself, not how everyone else feels about you. So you should realize that this is a glaring sign of low self-esteem anytime you find yourself feeling that you have to be validated by other people. The fourth thing is difficulty accepting compliments. Now, this is very true, because some people struggle to accept compliments. And in fact, they'll make excuses for why someone complimented them. Let's just say, for example, if someone says, oh, you did a great job. You got an A on your test, on your exam, right? You made 100. And then they'll say, oh, well, that was just a fluke. Well, I usually don't make such good grades. They'll say things like that, like trying to minimize, their own positivity, their own success. Okay, because it's the low self-esteem in them, that critical inner voice. Fear of confrontation is another thing. Confrontation is part of life that many of us would rather avoid. Okay, it can be uncomfortable, challenging, and even scary sometimes. Now, however, it's necessary as an aspect of human interaction, allowing us to express our feelings, assert our boundaries, and to resolve conflicts. Sometimes you have to confront things and situations and even people head on to get to the bottom, to get to the root cause, okay, to solve a problem. But for some of us, confrontation can feel like an insurmountable hurdle, like something you just can't get past, okay? People who fear confrontation often do so because they believe their feelings or opinions aren't valid or important enough to be expressed. They may worry about how others will react or fear of being disliked or rejected. That's how some of them feel. So they don't want to confront things. If people say nasty things to them, they won't stand up to them for themselves. They'll just take it. And sometimes they become like a doormat, okay, for people who want to verbally abuse them, for people who are hating on them, in fact, and trying to bring them down. They'll just let people walk all over them in some cases. The sixth thing is difficulty saying no. Do you find yourself being someone who doesn't set boundaries? who is always trying to people please. Okay, these are signs of low self-esteem. Okay, saying no. Now, this can be a real challenge for some people, specifically those with low self-esteem. In fact, they might not even realize that they say yes all the time, even when they don't feel like it or they really don't want to go along with something, that they still find themselves going along with it, accepting it. Okay, and so the fear of disappointing others, the fear of conflict, of being perceived in a bad light. These are all concerns that people with low self-esteem have. Okay, they don't think of themselves highly or in high regard. Overthinking and worrying about the future is something else that they do. You see, planning for the future is important, but constantly worrying and overthinking can create unnecessary stress and anxiety. And as I told you before, you can actually manifest these things that you're worried about, that you're stressing about, that may or may not ever even happen. Okay? With that all being said, if you're constantly thinking about, and worrying about things, those are electromagnetic energies, right? These thoughts are electromagnetic energies that you can absolutely manifest in real life. So, like I told you before, when people are meditating or they're praying or they're just thinking about things, it's best to think of the positive aspects. Even though you know what you don't want, don't focus on what you don't want. Focus on the things that you do want. Speak these things into existence as if they've already occurred. Don't focus on negativity. Try to see the glass as half full rather than as half empty. Be optimistic rather than pessimistic. And this is very hard for people with low self-esteem to do. Now, if you're frequently caught up in what if scenarios and worry excessively about the future, it might be time to consider whether this stems from low self-esteem. Okay, having a solid plan is good, but it's also important to trust in your abilities to handle whatever comes your way. Some things hit us unexpectedly. We can't always know what's going to happen in the future. We can plan and try to have a strategy for how we'll deal with things, but it's best to not be so worried about what may or may not happen. Okay. Now, the eighth thing is comparing oneself to others. That's something you should never do. Should never compare yourself to anyone else. You are unique. Everyone is a unique individual. Okay. Some people try so desperately to be like other people. Just be yourself. Even if you like what someone else is doing, well, you can be inspired and encouraged or even motivated by someone else, by things that they do or say. But at the end of the day, be yourself authentically. And if you see positive attributes that someone else exhibits, well, it's okay to want those same positive attributes. And you can do those same things, but do it in your own way. Don't try to mimic what someone else is doing, and don't compare yourself to someone else. Okay? Now, the thing is, comparison can often lead to feelings of inadequacy or dissatisfaction. And if you are ready, or if you already struggle with low self-esteem, that struggle could be amplified that much more. How can you feel good about yourself if you see other people being better and more successful and happier, etc.? How do you feel about yourself? Because now you're putting these other people on a pedestal and putting yourself beneath them. And so that's a recipe for disaster. That's also a low self-esteem. Now, no doubt comparison is another hard habit to break, but you can start with small intentional steps. Okay, set your intentions. First, remind yourself that social media is a highlight reel, not the behind the scenes, because some people sit here and they watch social media posts and they feel like someone's living such a perfect life. This person's got it so good. You never know what is going on with someone. Okay, that's what you don't know. Most people post the best aspects of their lives on social media, but the things that are negative about them, the bad things that are going on in life, they keep those things to themselves. Not because they're trying to put up a front. Well, some people clearly are, but in some cases, it's because, most of us don't want to talk about the negative aspects of our lives and of ourselves. We don't even want to think about it. So social media is for some people a place where they can be viewed as if they have a perfect little life, when in fact, things could be crumbling down behind the scenes. So that's absolutely why you should never compare yourself to anyone else, because you don't know what struggle lies behind those closed doors for them. And let me just tell you a parable, okay? There was a king who called everyone in the kingdom to his palace because people were complaining about their situations, their struggles, and all of that. Everyone was upset, saying they had all these problems. So the king called a meeting, had everyone from the kingdom come to the palace. And he said to them, each of you, I want you to take your problems, anything that you're struggling with, anything that's bringing you down, all of your problems, I want you to take it and put it in this bag. Put it in a bag, close the bag up, and go and hang it on the fence. And so they all did just that. So then the king says, I'm going to count to 3. And when I count to 3, I want you all to run and grab a bag of those problems full of struggles in the bag. And I want you to grab it. And those are going to be yours. So whatever problems and struggles are in the bag that you grab, those will be the ones that you have to deal with. Well, when he counted to 3, everyone took off running, but they were running to get their own bags. You see, everyone ran to get their own problems because they know what their problems and struggles are. They don't know what the next person has. Someone else could be doing a whole lot worse than you. Okay? So that's why you shouldn't compare yourself to other people. And that's also why social media is a highlight reel, because we highlight the positive things that are going on, not the negative. Now, some people sadly highlight the negative as well because they tell all of their business. And sometimes they do it for clout and they want sympathy. And sometimes just because they need someone to talk to and they feel like their followers on social media are the people who care and have concerns. Many times, sadly for them, it's just people who want juicy gossip. Please pay attention. Okay, now, with that all being said, sometimes it may take you a minute to remind yourself, that it's just a fragment of reality, okay? That this isn't absolutely what it always seems. Now, then try to shift your focus inward. Celebrate your own victories, no matter how small. When you notice you're lining up your life against someone else's, pause and reflect on your own recent wins, on positive things that have happened in your life. Okay, make it a point to jot down 3 things that you do daily or once a week at least that are your accomplishments. Set small goals for yourself. Say, this week I'm going to do this. And then next week I'm going to do that. We don't always have to set long-term goals. Sometimes it's good, to set short-term goals. And as you meet them, then give yourself a pat on the back. Okay? The next thing is avoiding eye contact. Now, I think I may have told you all this story before. When my youngest son, when I took him to school, his first day of school in kindergarten, the teacher walked over and she asked him what was his name. And he looked down at the floor and he told her his name. And when she walked away to go find his desk, because everyone's desk had their names on there, right? I told him, I said, sweetie, hold your head up. I said, when someone speaks to you, always look them in the eyes. Don't hold your head down like you're ashamed or you're embarrassed. Hold your head up. I said, you're going to be a man one day. And men are supposed to be strong and they're supposed to look people in the eyes when they talk. Don't show signs of weakness. Now, I told him that at the age of 5. Okay? Avoiding eye contact. Now, let's get a bit into body language, okay? So did you know that the level of eye contact you maintain indicates just how confident you are? Yeah, so if you're looking down, well, let's think about the flow of gravity. We hold our head down when we're sad, when we're somber, when we're feeling downtrodden. When we're happy, we tend to look up. That's why we say people have their noses in the air, right? Or they feel like they're on cloud 9 because you're looking up to the heavens, because that's the positive pull of gravity. The negative pull of gravity is to have your head down towards the ground. And so that is a sign of low self-esteem. And if you try to avoid eye contact, then guess what message you're sending? That's right. You're sending the message that you are not confident. Okay? Not only do you know that for yourself, but you're letting the people that are looking at you, the person you're speaking to, know that you lack confidence. Okay? That you find the other person or the situation uncomfortable or intimidating. But this is why you should always look people in the eyes. Be direct, okay? Be sure of yourself. And even if you aren't sure of yourself, well, act like you are. You've heard the term fake it till you make it. Never let them see you sweat. Never let someone know that you're intimidated by them or some situation that you're involved in. Always have an air of confidence about yourself. Mind you, there's a difference between confidence and arrogance. Okay, confidence is being sure of yourself. Arrogance is not only being sure of yourself, but trying to make sure that everybody else knows, okay, who you are and that you're good enough and all of that, and just doing overly too much. Okay, that's arrogance to me. Like when you feel sure of yourself, but you feel the need to just let everybody know, hey, yeah, I got it like this. Like you want everyone to know that you're overly sure of yourself. Okay, and to me, people who are arrogant sometimes have something in their inner self or something that they really are struggling with. And so they're appearing overly confident. Now, that's just my opinion. Nothing wrong with being confident. We all should be. And even if you aren't, you should act as though you are. Okay. And likely, if you act as though you are enough, you will absolutely become confident. All right. And keep telling yourself that I am confident. I am sure of myself, because anything you continuously say after I am, you will absolutely manifest. Now, the 10th thing is isolation and avoiding social situations. So going beyond avoiding eye contact, you may even have just thrown in the towel and decided to steer clear of social situations completely, right? Why risk judgment is what you may think. Well, sometimes, people don't want to confront things and they want to be by themselves just so they don't have to get into any type of situation that they can't deal with. Okay, so they isolate themselves. They have like maybe one or two people that they deal with, but they won't even be transparent with these people and talk to them about what they're going through. They just try to keep these things to themselves. And sometimes it's good to talk about things. Okay, so first, admit that you have a problem with your own self-esteem. That's the key. You have to first admit and acknowledge that there's an issue. If you've been exhibiting any of these behaviors and didn't even realize it, well, now is the time to take accountability and to realize that you have some type of, a lack of confidence, that you have some type of possibly, what's the word I'm looking for? There's something that is making you self-conscious about yourself. Okay. Now, breaking this cycle starts with understanding that most people are too caught up in their own experiences to exclusively judge yours. Like some people don't even care about your problems. Some people don't even care about what you're doing or not doing. But because someone has low self-esteem, they may absolutely feel like everyone's looking at them. Everyone's judging them. Everyone's waiting for them to fail. And that may not even be the case. Okay? Small wins, it can usually, and like I said, setting small goals, achievable goals, short-term goals, those will start to help you build your confidence. Small wins like those can rebuild the bridge between you and the world outside of your comfort zone. Okay? And remember, the life that you're looking for, the life that you want to live, that you can live, is absolutely right outside of your comfort zone. Everything in life is not going to make us comfortable. Some things will absolutely make us uncomfortable, and that's okay. The thing you should be asking yourself is, how will you deal with those situations when they come and you have to deal with them and confront them? Now, as long as you're consistent in pushing yourself out there a bit, there's no reason why you can't have meaningful connections and enjoy social interactions just like everyone else. It's all about perspective. And remember, how we view things. We all view things differently, right? Perception is reality. And we can create our own realities. Which one will you create for yourself is what you should ask. Okay, so with that all being said, beloveds, I hope you all got something out of this, and I hope you were paying attention, because absolutely this will be on Trivia on Friday. Okay? But of course, DC says, I say to myself, folks are hot. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some of us want to stay to ourselves. I like being by myself sometimes too. I like alone time. But some people do this constantly because they're just insecure. Okay. Because they're insecure about certain things. So that's why they do these things. Mr. Hotel said, this was great, Queen. Thank you, beloved. So with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast because, like I said, I have another broadcast starting right after this for my members. So until next time, beloveds, each one enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.